I'll be quick. I'm the last one, and you can get to your questions. I want to just briefly address 2 points. You may have heard suggestions that the truckers have made their point, and they should now pack up and go.
No.
And you may have also heard that what needs to happen next is a negotiation. Both these ideas are misguided. They miss the point. The point is that vaccine mandates and other COVID rules are illegitimate. Not just bad policy, not just inconvenient, they are illegitimate. The truckers were very clear before they arrived. They are free people. They are not about to agree to not be free. I think you'll find the truckers regard their freedoms as non-negotiable. And I don't think you'll find them leaving until the mandates are gone. So there's really no point in pursuing negotiation. And in particular, there's nothing much that the city of Ottawa can do to achieve this aim. Now, yes, it is true that this whole problem, the mandates in various guises and other COVID rules, is both federal and provincial. Now, we happen to be in Ottawa, where the federal government is located, but that doesn't mean that they're saying it's just a federal problem. This is federal and provincial. This is a national problem. So, it is what it is. And it may carry on for a good while until the change that we need is achieved. Second, liberal democracies depend on the theory of the consent of the governed. The behavior of public authorities during this COVID period has undermined that consent. It has undermined trust in government institutions. These people, the truckers and the people who support them, are essentially saying they do not consent in the way that we're all assumed to consent. This is not a protest. This is a movement. It's organic. It's spontaneous. People of all kinds are pitching in to help. There are lots of organizations who are independently working together to support our truckers. And please note, as I'm sure you're aware, Ottawa may be ground zero, but this is spreading far and wide, spontaneously, organically, in Canada and outside. So don't think that this is just the thing. This is just a few trucks blocking a few streets. That would be to misconstrue what is going on. People in this country have been sleeping, and our truckers have woken them up. It's significant not just because of COVID. Now, it looks like COVID is the problem, and believe me, COVID, the COVID rules, the COVID regime is the most immediate problem, for sure. But this is really a challenge to the nanny state, to the authority of our ruling class. And this is why they're so upset about this. It's not just a few streets being blocked. That's not a big deal. This is a challenge to the legitimacy and authority of our ruling class. There's a movement coming together that says, enough. We are challenging the idea, the very idea, that experts, officials, politicians, should be able to tell us how to live. And that transcends COVID. Once COVID rules are gone, then we have something else to talk about. Let's take questions, shall we?
Yeah. You've got a microphone there. You can, if anybody wants to pose a question, here we have a question over here, Daniel. If we could get you to speak into the microphone and direct your question to.
Hi, yeah, thanks for taking my question. David Berg from CBC.
David from CBC?
Yes, David Berg.
Okay.
So my question is for Maxime Bernier. What do you think the movement, as you call it, has achieved as we head into the third week?
No, I
Can
believe
you
it's
use the microphone?
Yes,
too?
please.
Yeah.
I believe it's a huge success. You know, people are tired about all that, and the truckers, what they started and what they did for the last 2 weeks, all across the country, not only in Ottawa, all across the country. That's a big achievement, and I believe that this movement will be successful. I believe that we are on the right side of history. When you have these experts and lawyers and constitutional that are telling the government and the politicians in Ottawa and the provincial government that what they're doing is unethical, unfair, unconstitutional, now you have the population that is realizing that, yes, I believe that you're right, and because of the movement of these truckers that, it's a grassroots movement. You cannot stop a good idea. You cannot stop a freedom idea. You cannot stop a grassroots movement.
But the mandates are still in place.
They will stop. They will have to stop.
Okay, and just a follow-up question. We heard from Mayor Watson today. He was saying that he's willing to meet with the truckers as long as they remove their trucks.
Lenny woke up.
I think you got the response. Next question. Anybody else?
And Vander Steele from
Yeah.
Steel Truth. Ben,
Yes.
what's your question?
My question, first of all, congratulations from the United States. We're thrilled to see Canada leading the way on this initiative. Hat tip to everybody in the room. Tremendous, tremendous. How are you going to work in the current government to make sure that this never happens again? Because as you said, they're going to try and push for the next pandemic and the next pandemic. Do you have a government in parallel in place to say we're going to be listening and we elect these people to govern us going forward?
Do you have a particular person that you want to direct that question to?
Sure. To the MP Randy Hillier, please.
So I think Professor Party alluded to that, what the answer is. The people of Canada have awakened. They have awakened during this very, very dark time. What Canada looks like after the COVID mandates are repealed and removed, I think Canada is going to look somewhat different than it did in February of 2020. I think what we will see is a very energized Canadian population, a more intellectually aware population, a population that understands that a democracy does not function without the individual's participation. What that actually looks like at the end of the day, I don't know, but I believe that there is a great silver lining in this dark cloud called COVID, and good people will come together and we will find that silver lining.
Here, here.
Let me ask a follow-up question.
Ron, sure. Go ahead.
In terms of the Great Awakening worldwide, with all eyes on Canada right now, do you expect this to result in a shift in how governments are looked upon by the free people? Because we know that God gives people their freedom and gives us our rights. They don't come from government. Do you expect that to change worldwide?
Absolutely. Or God help us if it doesn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, there is, I think, and we can say, there is, I've watched this now for nearly 2 years. There there is a great awakening happening within the people of the free world. There is a great awakening to the importance of faith, of family, and of freedoms. And that will be long lasting. This has been now ingrained. And I'll just say, you know, as I walk and talk to the truckers here in Ottawa, and you know, one night when I went out and met Sandy, and there his children are in the rig with him. Okay, Canadians are living and breathing freedom now. They're living, breathing, and being educated in the importance of participating in their democracy. And I truly hope that doesn't leave us again ever. So, thank you. Yeah.
I just want to add, you know, what is happening in our country is because we have a state of emergency in every province in this country. So that must end. The mandates, but also we must be able to live our lives like we want. So the state of emergency, Quebec, all across the country, must end, and we will be free again after that.
I believe this gentleman here
Yeah.
had your hand up.
Hi, I'm Charles. I'm with Ottawa.
The door.
You talked a bit earlier about what's going to happen this weekend. Can you develop more on what
Well, as
Ottawa might live this weekend?
we're going to have a very festive weekend again. We'll be the blue collar convoy is coming in. It will be a substantial convoy of service trucks and work trucks from blue collar workers, people who make Canada run. They'll be here. We've heard that Brian Peckford will be here, and the science table will be here. Many doctors. I would also say, everybody, I'm jumping the gun here, but I'm going to jump the gun anyway, just because Ledois asked me this question. On Sunday morning, we will be having a Flatten the Fear pancake breakfast free for everybody in downtown Ottawa. So come out.
Yeah.
Come out for the Flatten the Fear pancakes. There might be a couple other things, but I don't want to reveal the present all at once.
Police, an hour ago or something, said if I understand well what they're saying, they're going to increase maybe ticketing or arrests and criminal. If you're on the street, what?
We're dug in, and we're not leaving. We're dug in. Right? The PD, fearful or threatened. We are here to regain our freedoms. That you can take to the bank. I'll let Dr. Paul.
Hi, thanks, Randy. I just wanted to remind everyone that we did issue a formal invitation to the public health officials, Canadian government, such as Dr. Howard New, Dr. Shelley Deeks, and Dr. Theresa Tam. And that meeting will be here in this hotel at 1 p.m. on Friday. I believe it's in the York room. And the reality about it is that what we also did, besides inviting them, I also made sure that we included the Prime Minister's office to make sure that no invited official can claim that they did not get the invitation, because it's the function of the PMO's office to ensure that communication goes to where it needs to be, so that the Prime Minister's office and the Prime Minister is on notice that you have to ensure that these public health officials are here on Friday, because we will be here to have this debate to inform Canadians as to why these mandates should be dropped and must be dropped now.
Next question. Over here in the far corner. Oh, state your name.
My name's Andrew. I'm from Juris.
From Duras.
Juris.
Okay.
This question is for Sandy. It's reported that your family is one of 100, your two sons and daughter, one of 100 kids that are supposedly in the protest zone, and questions the sort of if it's in their best interest to be here. Did you have any comment on that, or based on their welfare?
Sure.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, they're learning a lot about they're learning a lot about their world that they live in, and the people they're meeting. They've never been so warm, welcoming, they're seeing the Canada that we all knew existed.
Yes.
We didn't know it was here. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, David Baxter with Global News. Just to follow up on my colleague's question over there. Now, the police have been saying they are going to start charging people with criminal mischief to property. Just what happens when the charges start coming out, assuming the police follow up on what they've said?
We'll deal with that problem when it shows up.
Right on.
And you're
And they will deal with the problem whenever it shows up.
Yeah, you're talking about this being, a blue-collar working class movement. Currently, we're now, for the foreseeable future, the Rideau Center is going to be closed down. It's closed down the first day of the protest. We saw. Sorry. Yeah, we saw a large contingent of people without masks going in there. That prompted the mall to be closed until February 6th. It's now closed until further notice. We're seeing truckers being held up on both sides of the border. So we are seeing this movement hurt working people. What can you say to the people involved who are stuck, not being able to work because of the blockades?
Okay, let's not have cross. For 2 years, working people have been severely harmed and injured in this country as a direct result of government policy. Direct result. We have seen significant increases in suicides, overdose. We have seen significant increases in death from those who are not at risk of COVID, right? We have seen significant financial harm done to businesses, and we have seen hundreds of thousands of people put out of work, right? The Rideau Center chose to close, not because of the actions of anybody in the truckers' convoy. They chose to close because they heard the inflammatory, insightful, dangerous language of Mayor Jim Watson and Justin Trudeau. As you know, downtown Ottawa is very peaceful. I am not going to buy into that falsehood, that false narrative, that anybody is a threat or that there is any danger here. This is a festive event, right?
But
if the Rideau Center wants to close, there's many businesses that have reopened without masks, having people sitting in those businesses. I've gone down and had some shawarmas myself, and I welcome everybody to go to the businesses that promote freedom.
Yes.
And I will add one last thing. Through all this, through all the last 2 weeks, never have I heard Justin Trudeau or Mayor Watson or Vera Itches or anybody else talk about the spread of COVID at the Freedom Convoy.
Yeah.
They talked about incendiary language, vile, hateful, deceitful language, but they have forgotten all about COVID during this convoy.
yeah, I just one last question, mine, and appreciate the assistance in letting me get my question out. But the Rideau Center was saying they closed because of the large amount of unmasked shoppers who came in on the very first day of the Freedom Convoy, and saying they couldn't guarantee the health and safety of their staff. So what do you say to the Rideau Center saying it was directly?
I would rather a business make their own choices than government imposing it.
Yes.
You're here.
Right? No, just. You're here amongst a whole lot of people. You have made a choice to be here. And as you can see, a great many people are unmasked. I've been in hotels in Ottawa for the last 12 days. Most hotels, it's hard to find somebody wearing a mask, except from the media. And choices. We are choosing how we are going to live. And that's going to continue. Next question. This one over here.
Yeah, I just have a question for the gentleman with the black hat. What's the most inspiring thing, or what's the most happy or inspiring thing you've seen from Canadians on your journey?
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, go ahead. It could be an individual thing or collective thing, whatever's touched your heart. If you have one memory or a collective thing.
Yeah, there's so many. Like what we got to witness as the all the guys coming across. There's fellas in here that right now that have been sharing all the stories around here. It's pretty hard not to get.
So your kids have enjoyed seeing everybody, and it's been a nice touch, a good memory for them.
They've met people from every edge of this of Canada.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can't to load it up into one question. All I can say is that we always knew the Canada that was out there when we were kids and how free and we knew it existed. But when you as a father and you're staring at your kids knowing that they're not going to have the freedom that we had growing up, and now to see that that's a possibility, kids out playing hockey. Again, there's probably our place down there over by where we're playing, probably 40, 50 kids playing hockey again, just being kids. And seeing that the hope in people's eyes, that's probably the charge that, and the people walking across the Gatineau Bridge, families offering up their houses to come, homeschool, my kids all homeschool, so they're just a love all the way around. The whole situation, I guess, is what we've been lied to as to what our country was fractured and broken, and now to see exactly how intact it is, I guess that's the gift in itself right there. Yeah.
Same thing, if one of the politicians.
This gentleman over here.
Hi, Michael Clausen from Bridge City News. Our team observed a couple of members of the Canadian Armed Forces in military fatigues walking around. Do any of you know why they would be here?
Supporting freedom.
They weren't very engaging in conversation.
But listen, that's an unfair. We can't tell why somebody, DND has a large building close by. People work there. People in the military. My son and many military vets have been down here as well with various berets and hardware. So, who knows? You'll have to ask them.
I did. They didn't answer.
Any other questions or follow-up? No.
Hi, Boris Lay from National Montreal. We're a Russian language newspaper from Quebec.
Oh, there's Russian agents here.
Don't worry, just Russian. So I had a question. The Ottawa Police has currently started.
Who's your question for?
Mostly you, Randy, as well as you, Maxime. So the Ottawa Police has been saying that this movement has now become an occupation, whereas the truckers, the participants, and the organizers have made sure that this event is peaceful completely. The vast majority of people have been, in fact, peaceful. So my question would be, as politicians, as influential people, what steps are you taking to ensure that this situation doesn't, the police doesn't start taking forceful action against peaceful protesters?
Well, before I pass it over to Max, I'll just say, listen, let's not buy into the narrative. We know that Canadians are very considerate, peaceful, loving individuals. And as a rule, that extends to everybody in Canada, regardless of what uniform you might wear or what uniform you don't wear. So I'm not at all concerned, and I've talked to many truckers. Nobody's concerned about that. We expect our police officers to act to serve and protect, and I can think I can say they're not impervious to the inflammatory language of our politicians, but nor are they swallowing it all either. So we'll expect everybody to be respectful, considerate. Whatever happens, the truckers have got a good network of logistics to bring fuel, food, and also pancakes.
Yes, I was here also the last 2 weekends. I can tell you that I saw policemen, I spoke with them. But what I can tell you, these policemen are not the same that I saw last summer when I was in Manitoba and I was arrested, handcuffed, and put in jail after a gathering in a park. That was not my country. But now I know that policemen and the Canadian forces, if they are here, and because they work here, they have an office here also, they are with us, and they want that protest, what I prefer to call it a rally, to be a big success. And I believe that it will be like that until the end.
All right, we'll just take a couple more questions, and then we're going to be wrapping things up. Yes.
My question is mostly for scientists and doctor. How scientists that it base their narrative on science can have their narrative as polarized as that everywhere. So why their narrative is so completely at the opposite for the government and for other scientists?
To paraphrase someone you're very familiar with, the science is settled. There's an overwhelming consensus that nothing worked. Nothing could work, nothing did work, and nothing will work. That includes the vaccinations, which are not just unnecessary, experimental, untested, and are actually killing people. I want to take this moment to point a finger directly at the principal cause of why we're all here today. And it's not the government. No, it's us physicians who are being intimidated by our colleges, both provincially and internationally. If physicians had not been intimidated by the very body that's supposed to protect you from me, if they'd been allowed to speak their mind without the threat of losing their income and their positions, then an individual patient, such as you and me, in a closed examining room, would have been told the truth. The truth. They have been denied that ability to do that. We have had that for centuries. The two principal medical ethics have been trampled on by this government. First, do no harm, and informed consent. First, do no harm has been trampled on. The mandates have killed, as we've heard, more people, many more people than they've saved. But informed consent, I would put it to you, how can you give informed consent if you are not informed?
Come on.
And you have been denied information intentionally by the colleges that are supposed to protect you. So I say this, putting a point on it. The colleges of physicians and surgeons across this country and internationally are co-conspirators with government in state-sanctioned murder. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I wanted to echo what Dr. Hodgkinson has said here, because look, from the very beginning, we knew that COVID was responsive very positively to early outpatient treatment. And yet doctors in Canada, in the United States, across the world, their hands were tied by their governments. These faceless, technocratic, bureaucratic people tied the hands of these clinicians. They refused to allow them to use their clinical judgment and their best decision making. In the United States, approximately 900,000 people have died of COVID. We've modeled the data now. Me, McCullough, Risch, Zelenko, etc., and we have shown that approximately 840,000 people would be alive today had early treatment been allowed. And what Dr. Hodgkinson has said is perfectly correct. The problem here is that we don't represent just two scientists with Dr. Punes or Dr. Phillips or Dr. Francis Christian. There are thousands of Canadian physicians and academic scientists who write me. In the United States also at CDC and FDA and NIH, they write me and they call me and they tell me the problem is Hodgkinson, Peter McCullough, you people have the courage and the bravery that we lack. But we want to speak, but we cannot. As Hodgkinson said, they would lose their academic appointment, as is happening in Canada. They would lose their grant. They would lose their positions. And this is why today you've had this divide. The divide is not that the truckers didn't have an accurate common sense in stating that these mandates must fall. It's not just Hodgkinson and myself as academic scientists and clinicians who are saying that these mandates must fall and have no scientific basis. We have thousands of scientists, but they are afraid. And the time has come that you must become brave and stand up to the colleges and stand up to the government and say enough. natural immunity is far superior than vaccinal immunity. You
Yes.
should have said that in the beginning.
Right.
You have contributed to the failure here. You have failed, and it is time you right the ship and come forward now.
Here, here. We've got an online question, and then we'll go over here next.
Yeah, we got Ann Vandersteel. Go ahead, Ann.
Brewster, he is joining us as one of our co-hosts. Go ahead, Scott.
You know, just a statement for you guys, basically, you know, to quote Orwell, whoever controls the present controls the past, and who controls the past controls the future. And what does the future look like to these tyrants? It's a boot stomping on the human face forever. And I just want to let you guys know that America is with you. We just had 500 kids in Sherwood, Oregon walk out of school and throw their masks in the trash. We have kids all over Washington, Oregon, and California that are now hiring lawyers because of you guys. You guys are inspiring the world. You're inspiring America, Australia. You're inspiring everybody. And I want to tell everybody right now, you tyrants, listen closely. We will not relinquish our rights to you. We will take them back.
Thank you, Scott. That was great.
Thank you very much, Scott. This gentleman here, your name and who you're with?
My name's Tom Lewis. I'm from Monocle magazine. We're a current affairs magazine. Thank you so much. And then from Mr. Bernier, just a very quick one as well. I just wanted to ask Sandy, it was really interesting hearing the story of your journey with your family. You described your life in a very rural part of Canada. I wonder how many other truckers are from quite rural parts, such as you, and whether there's some kind of solidarity forming here between people who live in quite rural areas of the country and those who live elsewhere. Is that a theme, a common theme between you?
I don't. We come from a wide diversity. Like I don't truck long haul. Do that. I've got a ranch and some construction business in the oil patch. We're trucking remotely in northern Alberta, but the guys that I'm meeting come from all over every walk of life. They're some city, some rural, but no, I think it's pretty collective all the way across. Everybody that's involved in this movement, we've all felt something that was not right from the very beginning of this all, and I'm thinking most of the Canadians it didn't resonate with, but for whatever reason, mainstream media, like I said, the boys here have a lot more background in that, but I can for surely tell you that the people that come from all different walks of life are feeling the same way. That something was wrong, and how deep down the rabbit hole they are, that's all up to the individual, but the overall collective knows that this is wrong, right, all the way across.
And just a very quick follow-up. Do you feel, living on your ranch, that you've been impacted in a more particular way or in a different specific way than, say, other people in other parts of the country, more urban ones? What's the experience been like for you?
Fairly good in the remote parts of Alberta, and I'm sure remote parts of most of Canada would have been probably a little less. It still all depends on your community. But I feel for the people that lived in the high density areas and in the cities and stuff that have been really impacted. Like I said, my kids haven't been impacted as much as some, and we got to see that along the way. But I think it represents very clearly when we're driving through all the cities and stuff coming across Canada. We're in high density, low density, everything in between. But the unity was all there. So all the way across Canada, we're solid. The solidarity is there. If the numbers are saying 53%, that's kind of what the government's saying. What's that mean in COVID terms? 80% solidarity? I don't know. Right? Thank you.
Well said.
Oh,
you want to follow up with
just a quick one. I just wondered if you could comment again on the blockades of the bridges. How long should that go on for, and do you support the blockade of trade going between the two countries?
Yeah, I'm for free trades, I'm for freedom, free markets, but I understand also why that is happening right now in our country. Actually, the protests here in Ottawa, I'm supporting that. I'm supporting the truckers all across the country. And I know that what they're doing, they want to have a voice, and they don't have a voice. So now we are waiting for the federal government to answer. I said Justin Trudeau can be a statement, can be a leader. He's not a leader anymore. He can solve that in a day, just ending all the mandates, and that will be solved. So he has all all the answers in his hands, and he can also be in touch with provincial governments. Actually, as you know, in Manitoba, the mandates will end. In Saskatchewan, Saskatchewan, and also in Alberta. So he must be a leader and all that, and everything will go back to normal. We want to regain our freedoms. That's what we want.
Okay, I think we're going to. That is a time that you may remember called BC, before COVID. When you hugged your grandchildren, when you went to funerals, when you went to restaurants, you traveled. That was a time we want to retake. Thank you. Thank you.
Call it a day. I think there's one headline that should be obvious to everybody in the media when you go to print and go to do your media tonight. Solidarity is the headline with truckers in Canada. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the evening. And make sure you come out.
And be back on Friday. Be back on Friday in the same room. 1 o'clock.
Randy, will there be more jumping castles out there?
There'll be all kinds of things bouncing around this weekend. Thank you very much.
Randall, I'll just do a close. Here we are. So there we saw quite an amazing thing. We saw mainstream media and independent producers. Here, probably hundreds of thousands of views will take place with the independent producers. We saw questions being asked and answered, sometimes laughed at by the crowd. You know, when they say, we'll talk to you when you leave, that's a joke. So this is an unprecedented time in Canadian history. It's beautiful. The feeling in the air is of freedom, power, and strength. A lot of talk about returning to our trust in the sovereignty of God in this nation. That is a theme that is happening throughout this entire movement. We are seeing history in the making, folks. Stay tuned. I can't wait to see how this pans out. Nobody's leaving. Nobody's going anywhere until we see our freedom in Canada restored. God bless everyone. We'll see you next time.
You know, it's not easy to deliver the truth of what our sick world is doing, but for some of us, we feel that we have no choice. Because if we are silent about these abominable things, then we are letting evil go unchecked. And